Elisha and the noble woman of Shunem. Part 2, a true story from 2 Kings chapter 4. Our verse for today's lesson comes from 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 7, which says, "Casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you." God cares about you. God cares about you. So when we have trouble, we should go to God by praying. Last time we learned about Elisha, how that oftentimes he would go through the town of Shunem in the kingdom of Israel. He went through that town, and a woman there invited him to have dinner with her family. Every time he went through that town, she would invite him to have dinner with her family. She had the idea and suggested it to her husband that they make Elisha a little room. That way, when he came through the town, that he would have a place to stay and refresh himself. And they did that. And that was a great blessing to Elisha and to his servant Gehazi. Well, Elisha wanted to do something nice in return for them. And even though the man and his wife had been married for many years, they did not have any children. And Elisha promised them that God would give them a boy. And God did. That was all last week. Well, we're going to find out what happened to that family. See that boy playing happily? Well, something bad's about to happen. One day, the father was out in the field working with his servants, and his son was out there too, probably watching them work, enjoying seeing them gather the crops, and his head started hurting. And he went to his dad and he said, "Dad, my head hurts." So the husband commanded one of the servants, "Take this boy to his mother." So they took the boy to his mother. His head hurt a lot. Well, he sat on the mother's lap, and at noon, he died. The little boy died. Do you see the mother crying? She was so sad. She carried the boy up to Elisha's room, and she laid him on Elisha's bed. And then she shut the door and she went out. And she said to her husband, "Husband, would you spare one of the servants to come with me and to get a donkey ready? I would like to go see the man of God today at Mount Carmel." And the husband said to her, "Why? It's not a celebration or a holiday. It's not a new moon or a Sabbath." But she said to her husband, "It will be well." She did not tell her husband what happened. So she got on a donkey, and she said to her servant, "Servant, drive the donkey, please. Do not let off, but let's go quickly to the man of God." So they rode hard. As they were afar off, Elisha looked up there on Mount Carmel, and he said to Gehazi, "Look, do you see here? I see that's the Shunammite woman that's coming. Hey, Gehazi, why don't you run down to her and ask her if everything's well with her and her husband and her boy?" So Elisha ran to her, so Gehazi ran to her, and Gehazi said, "Is it well, ma'am? Is everything well with you and with your husband and with your child?" And the woman said, "It is well." When she got to Elisha, she fell down at his feet and grabbed him. And Gehazi came by and tried to grab her and say, "No, leave him alone. Don't grab Elisha." But Elisha spoke to Gehazi and said, "Gehazi, let her alone. She is very troubled. and the Lord has hid from me why she's troubled. Hi, Joy. Why are you interrupting our story? You want to know what's happening? And why the woman keeps saying that everything's okay? Oh, okay. Well, you're just going to have to find out. It's true. The woman told her husband that everything was well, and she told Gehazi that everything was well, but everything wasn't well, was it? Her son had died. Well, okay, what's happening? She's coming to Elisha because he's the prophet of God, and he's like a representative of God. And so she's coming to Elisha because she wants Elisha to talk to God and do something about it. As Christians, we don't have to go to a priest or a prophet. Because of Jesus, we can go to the Father directly in prayer. While the woman was crying, she said, Elisha, did I ask you for a son? Didn't I tell you not to lie to me? Not to give me false hope? Oh. Elisha said to Gehazi, Gehazi, quickly, take my staff and go to Shunem, to the house of the woman. As you're going, if you see anyone on the road, do not talk to them. And if anyone says hello to you, do not answer, but go straightway to the woman's house. And when you find the child, lay my staff on the face of the child. So Gehazi set off to go on a hurry. But the woman said to Elisha, As the Lord lives, and as thy soul lives, I am not going to leave you. You have to come yourself. So Elisha got up, and the woman, and they set off for Shunem. Now Gehazi had gone before, and he went to the house, and he touched the face of the child with his staff. And he came back, and he told Elisha, Nothing happened. Nothing happened. There was no voice. There was no hearing. The boy is not awakened. He's dead. Elisha went into the house. He went into the room, his room, where the boy was, and he shut the door. And he started praying. He started praying to God. He started praying to God for this little boy's life. And then he did something very funny. He put his nose on the boy's nose, and his hands on the boy's hands. And then he got up and he walked around the house, and I'm sure he prayed some more, prayed to the Lord God. And he came back to where the dead boy was lying on his bed, and he stretched himself over the boy again. And then the boy sneezed 7 times and opened his eyes. God had brought the boy back to life. So Gehazi and Elisha went to the Shunammite and showed her that the boy was alive. I'm sure she ran and gave the boy a big hug. She took him up in her arms, and she fell down at Elisha's feet. Her heart was full of gratitude for what God had done for her. I'm sure she worshiped God and thanked him for restoring her son back to life. Our verse for this lesson says, Casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. God cares about you. God cares about what's going on in your life. And when you have trouble, go to God and pray. The end.